Picture this for a second. It's 2 summers ago, and I'm standing out in my garden. And, it was beautifully kept. I had watered everything right on schedule, the soil was fed perfectly, but it was just entirely, eerily quiet. I literally couldn't remember the last time I'd seen a bee out there. And my tomatoes barely producing anything. It just kept bothering me. I had plenty of color, plenty of blooms, so where did the bees go? It is incredibly frustrating when you feel like you're doing everything quote-unquote right, and then you slowly realize the ecosystem is just completely missing from your own backyard. If your garden has been mysteriously missing its bees, or your vegetable yields are stubbornly low, stick with me. The fix is coming. And hey, if you've actually dealt with this exact problem before, hit subscribe so we can figure these things out together. Section 1. Our well-intentioned mistakes. See, the garden wasn't failing by accident. It was failing because of completely normal, well-intentioned habits that were actively working against nature. I want to walk you through these stacked failures. First, I assumed that planting really pretty, showy, double-bloom ornamental flowers meant I was being pollinator-friendly. Second, I was doing preventative, calendar-based insect spraying. And third, I kept all my garden edges meticulously tidy and fully mulched. I was doing exactly what conventional garden care tells you to do. Let's just sit with that for a second. All of these mistakes pointed in the exact same direction. I had essentially built a garden that looked conventionally beautiful to me, but was quietly, actively hostile to the exact insects I desperately needed. The real turning point happened when I was talking to my neighbor, Carol. Now, her garden was just absolutely humming with life. She listened to me vent about my empty tomato plants for a while, and then she just asked me, are you gardening for how it looks or for what it feeds? Take flowers, for example. Plant breeders have spent years creating heavily hybridized double blooms strictly for visual appeal. But that extra ruffled beauty comes at a massive cost. They literally breed out or completely block the nectar and pollen structures. So to a passing bee, these spectacular flowers are functionally useless. There's just no access. Then there's broad-spectrum spraying. When you apply insecticide on a preventative calendar schedule, that chemical doesn't know the difference between a destructive pest and a passing beneficial insect. You are indiscriminately wiping out the natural predators and the butterflies that would have handled your pest problems for free. But honestly, the biggest surprise for me was the cost of being tidy. It turns out a massive portion of our native bees are ground nesting. They actually need small, bare patches of soil or hollow dead stems to successfully nest and thrive. So by keeping my garden perfectly mulched and meticulously cleared of debris, I was systematically destroying the exact habitat they needed. Section 3. The subtractive fix. The good news is, fixing this isn't about buying a bunch of expensive new products. It's entirely about subtracting bad habits. It's a 5-step biological system. We're going to audit the flowers, add an anchor bed, stop the spraying, deliberately leave a mess, and add water. Let's walk through it. Step 1 is to audit your existing flowers. Now, don't panic. You do not have to rip out the double blooms that you already love. Just recognize that they are purely decorative. Going forward, shift your new planting choices toward functional, simple, open-faced blooms where the pollinators can actually reach the pollen. Step 2, add a genuine pollinator anchor bed. Instead of scattering one plant here and one plant there, cluster your native perennials and flowering herbs together, things like lavender and oregano. You want to stagger their bloom times too, so there is a constant, reliable food source from spring all the way through fall, rather than just one brief burst of color. Step 3, stop preventative spraying entirely. Seriously, just stop. Only treat an actual identified pest problem with targeted options. This single subtractive change does more to rebuild your pollinator numbers than almost anything you could possibly add to the garden. Step 4, leave a genuinely messy corner on purpose. Just designate a few square feet where you deliberately don't mulch and leave those hollow dead stems standing right through the winter. That tiny, unfinished space does more ecological work than the rest of your perfectly tidy garden combined. In Step 5, add a simple water source. This is something almost everyone misses. Just take a shallow dish, add a few stones so they sit right above the water line, and keep it refreshed. This gives your native pollinators a safe place to drink without the risk of drowning. Section 4. The timeline to recovering. The beautiful thing about this subtractive method is how incredibly fast it starts working. Unlike a lot of gardening projects, this takes weeks, not years. Once the spring stops and that anchor bed blooms, the bees will find it. Within that exact same season, you'll see the pollinators return, and your vegetable yields improve drastically. Now, the ground nesting bees will take until next season to fully establish their nests, but the payoff for your garden really does start instantly.
Section 5. The invisible half. Comparing my sterile, underproducing yard from 2 summers ago to the garden I have today is just night and day. It might be slightly less manicured now, but it is fully, vibrantly alive. And it goes right back to what Carol told me. A garden that only looks good to you is really only doing half its job. The other half is what it does for the living things around it. And that half is completely invisible until you make the choice to invite it back in.
I'd love for you to take a walk through your own garden this week. Which of these well-intentioned habits might actually apply to you? Tell me down in the comments what pollinators you're seeing right now. And if this explainer helps you spot the missing half of your garden, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.